Hey guys, Pastor Alex here. I just want to take a second and from the bottom of my heart say thank you so much for tuning in to what's happening here at Overflow Church. I hope the message today pushes you, blesses you, and encourages you. Enjoy.
All right. Now I know that some of you are here this morning because someone made you come. And I know that some of you are only here today because that's just what we do on Sundays in the South. We go to church. But is anybody here this morning that's just ready for a word from God? Y'all are always so much more excited about that than 9 a.m. Thank you. So if that's the case, we're going to be in Matthew 26 today. And to kind of catch you up on what's happened at this point, in case you're not super familiar with the Bible, at this point in the game, when we get to Matthew 26, Jesus and his disciples have been doing their thing for about 3 years. They've been hanging out, making memories, meeting people, traveling all these different places. Jesus has been teaching the word in ways that people have never heard it before, healing the sick, raising the dead, literally changing the known world. And now it's time for him to do the one thing, really, truly, the thing that he came to do, which is go to the cross and die for the sins of humanity. And even though Jesus has already told his disciples that this is coming, when he told them, they didn't really understand what he was talking about, and so it kind of left them in a weird spot. And it's like, I wish so bad that we could understand what they were going through. But I mean, their society was so different than ours. I mean, think about it. They were experiencing political division. And they were in a season of uncertainty and chaos and racial tension, and God's people were divided on literally every subject imaginable. Like, I wish we could relate to what they were going through. But, you know, we may or may not be able to. But unfortunately for the disciples, they found themselves in the middle of all of this. I mean, Jesus was the one that was put on trial here. Jesus, their leader, he's the guy that's about to be condemned, about to be killed. And so naturally, for our disciples, for Peter, for all of them, man, they were scared. And they were nervous, and they were hurting, and they were angry, and they were confused, and they were stressed. Just by a show of hands, how many of you would say this year you've been scared, nervous, angry, confused, stressed, a little bit of everything? Right, yeah, and they're right there with you. And I want to show you Peter's response to all this happening at the same time. Matthew 26, we'll start in verse 69. It says, meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard, and a servant girl came over and said to him, you were one of those with Jesus the Galilean. But Peter denied it in front of everyone. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. And then later out by the gate, another servant girl noticed him and said to those standing around, this man was with Jesus of Nazareth. And again, Peter denied it, this time with an oath. I don't even know the man, he said. And then a little later, some of the other bystanders came to Peter and said, no, you have got to be one of these guys. We can tell by your accent. And Peter swore. He said, a curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man. And then in the most movie-esque fashion possible, immediately the rooster crowed. And suddenly Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. Before the rooster crows, you'll deny 3 times that you even know me. And so Peter went away weeping bitterly. So here we got, even after years of amazing memories with Jesus, after having a close, unbelievably close and personal relationship with God himself, after seeing Jesus come through for him time after time after time, after seeing all their prayers answered and experiencing the genuine power of God, suddenly all of Jesus' disciples, along with Peter, they're nowhere to be found. After all of these awesome moments, now suddenly, where are they? They're gone. Judas has betrayed Jesus and committed suicide. Peter has denied even knowing Jesus and walked away weeping bitterly. The rest of the disciples fled to wherever they fled to. And you look at the scene and it's kind of sad because, think about it, man. They started so strong. They've got all these other memories behind them. They started so strong. And then because of some tough, maybe unforeseen circumstances, it doesn't look like they're going to finish quite as strong. And I have a feeling that there are some people watching online today, maybe even some people sitting in this room, who can identify with that same thing. Maybe last year, a couple years ago, you were good. Things were good. They weren't perfect, but they were good. I mean, you were serving God, running after God with everything that you had. You were in love with the Lord, and you, I don't know, there wasn't any drama in your family, and you weren't stressed, and you weren't full of anxiety, and you weren't dealing with depression. Things were good. Your kids were good. Your family was good. Your grades were good. Your job was good. Your church was good. Your health was good. Everything was good. You were happy, motivated, full of faith, and you were ready for whatever. And then whatever came. For many of you, whatever showed up around March of last year at some point. And whatever was a lot tougher than you expected whatever would actually be. And because of that, now for weeks, months, a year, maybe even a couple of years, now you've been struggling. And you're anxious. And you're stressed. And you're tired. And you're angry. And you've been making bad decisions. And strong would be the last thing that you would use to describe yourself. You started so strong, whenever that was, but now strong doesn't even come close to describing your current state of being. And if that's you, there's no judgment passed. I'm right there with you. I've made plenty of mistakes, had plenty of letdowns, have fallen short a handful of times, 1,000 times, and that's just in the year 2020, man. In fact, I mean, if I can just be totally honest and vulnerable with you guys, a couple weeks ago, I went through the 2 hardest weeks that the year presented to me, and I know you're like, what? What do you mean 2 weeks ago you went through your 2 hardest weeks? I did, and I'm not going to get into the details, but in the middle of those 2 weeks, I was praying one day, and you know what? I'll stop myself, because that sounds way too faith-filled and pastorally. I wasn't praying, I was complaining. How many of you have ever sometimes, you mix up praying, complaining? Yeah, so I'm just doing my thing, being a man of God, letting the Lord know how tough my life is right now, reminding him in case he is on vacation and forgotten to watch over me. Lord, help! What is this? I'm letting him, you ever let God know things? I'm letting him know I'm over this year. I'm done with it. I'm done. Fast forward through 2020. Some of you are amening right now and you're setting yourself up for failure. I'm not going to call out any names. Because in the middle of me complaining to the Lord and just saying, I'm done with this year, God. In the middle of all that, the Holy Spirit speaks to me, and it's just these real simple words. He said, Alex, finish strong. Yes. And I was like, finish strong. Be quiet. Finish strong, Alex. And that'll be the title for our sermon today, in case you don't already have the app where your title would already be located right there for you. Finish strong. And the moment I heard the Lord say that, I knew exactly what it meant to me. I knew what that phrase, finish strong, meant, because if you grew up playing football at South Fulton High School, the great city of South Fulton, like I did, then at any point, if you were on one of my football teams, that phrase, finish strong, would have meant a lot to you as well. And I'll explain it to you real quick. In case you don't know, South Fulton doesn't have the richest heritage of winning in anything, not just football, but really any sport at all. But especially when it came to football, when I was in high school, I did not inherit a winning team. In fact, whenever I was in 8th grade, the team was so bad, an opposing team ran for 500 yards on us in one game, and our team was featured on ESPN because of how bad we were. Now, fast forward to my freshman year, and we were even worse. We went 0-10. Didn't win a single game. We gave up on average like 40 points every single game, and we modeled what a terrible football team looks like. I mean, there was probably middle school teams that would have ran us into the ground that year. And so after having this horrible year, my school does exactly what any good school does. They go out and they find a new coach. And it was this guy named Kelly Spivey, Coach Kelly Spivey, and he's a coach in McKenzie right here, right now. Many of you know who Coach Spivey is. And whenever I was in school, he was the coach at South Fulton High School. And when Coach Spivey showed up, he revitalized the football program. And it was almost like he stepped into South Fulton and everything changed for us. We got a brand new weight room. We got new jerseys. Lots of people started coming to our games. We developed this fresh sense of pride for South Fulton football. We got bigger, faster, stronger, and most importantly, we got better. We started winning games. In fact, the first 6 games of my sophomore season, we won, and it left us ranked as the 10th best team in the state of Tennessee. And we're like, we've arrived. We've made it. We're superstars. I'm a sophomore in high school watching myself on the news catching touchdowns like I'm Marvin Harrison. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, where are the scouts at for me? I'm a sophomore. I'm on TV. Things were good, dude. We were on the news. There were newspaper write-ups. Like I said, there was thousands of people coming to our games. It was awesome. There was so much hype surrounding what we were doing. And as quickly as that hype showed up, we lost the last 4 seasons the last 4 games of that season. We missed out on the playoffs, and all that hype that showed up so fast left just as fast as it showed up, leaving us crushed on the inside, but teaching us a really good lesson. And the lesson is that, look, a good season or a good year doesn't always require a perfect start, but it always takes a strong finish. A good year always requires a strong finish. And so that became the goal for our next season, my junior season. Everything we did, finish strong. That was the mantra of our team. We had these little shirts with SF, on the front, but on the back of it, it said finish strong. Every time we got in the huddle, you know when football teams, like, they come together and they say, I guess if I was in McKenzie, I'd say, Rebels on 3, 1, 2, 3, Rebels. We'd say finish strong on 3, 1, 2, 3, finish strong. Everything was about finish strong. When we were, in the weight room, coaches would yell, finish strong, come on, get the last rep. Or when we were running our sprints at the end of practice, finish strong, finish your practice strong. We wanted to finish every play strong, every practice strong, every quarter strong, every game strong. We wanted to finish the year strong. And to be honest with you, we did finish the year strong. Now, I'm not telling you like we won the state championship. That wasn't, I don't think any of us believed we were going to win the state championship. That wasn't really the goal. We weren't good enough to win a state championship, but we finished strong. For the first time in like 15 years, we beat the odds and we made it to the second round of the playoffs only to lose to the team who did win the state championship. So for us, we're thinking, dude, we killed that. Like, we really finished strong. And looking back on it, the only reason we were able to see that success, the only reason we were able to have those experiences is because our goal for that season wasn't perfect. It wasn't, don't make any mistakes. Our goal was just simply finish strong. And today, I want to challenge you to do the same thing. Look, it's no joke or it's no secret. 2020 hasn't been the year that any of us hoped for. Okay, I'm sorry, but no one in 2019 was like, God, I pray that you'd give our nation the worst year in recent history. No one wanted 2020. No one asked for 2020. But hear me out. You still got 7 weeks left in this year. And that leaves you with 2 choices. Choice number 1, you could either take to social media and complain some more and throw in the towel and say, to heck with this year, like I did a few weeks ago. Or choice number 2, you could decide right now that no matter what else happens, you're gonna do whatever it takes to finish this year on a strong note. But hear me, if you wanna do that, it's gonna require you right here, right now, deciding, even if I get COVID and lose my taste buds and get quarantined for 2 weeks, I'm still gonna finish strong. And even if church has to go online for a couple weeks at some point, guess what? I'm still gonna finish strong. And even if Thanksgiving is weird because of like family and politics and all that stuff, I'm still gonna finish strong. And even if the election goes to the courts and it doesn't work out how I want it to work out, I'm still gonna finish strong. And even if none of my prayers get answered and nothing goes how I want it to go, I'm still going to finish strong. I don't just wanna start strong next year, not come hell or high water. I wanna finish strong this year. Now, if anybody in the room that says, Alex, I'm ready to finish strong in 2020, We got to finish strong. And to do that, I got to talk about Peter. Because Lord, if there's anyone who has a muddy track record, it's Peter. There were some bumps along the way. That's why I like talking about Peter, because I can identify with Peter. But along with all that, you fast forward to the end of his story, and Peter's a perfect example of what it looks like to finish strong. Did he deny Jesus? Yes. Did he flee the scene on the eve of the resurrection? Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't. But you guys, for the most part, you're church people, which means you know how the story plays out. Go to the book of Acts, and just a few chapters after Peter is denying Jesus and making all these horrible decisions, just a few chapters later, we see him preaching on the day of Pentecost, and 3,000 people are getting saved. He's become the primary apostle. Miracles are following him everywhere he goes. People are getting healed by his shadow. He's having visions that change the course of history, and he is leading. Under his leadership, the church is thriving and spreading like wildfire. And so the question is, how? How did he do it? How did Peter go from mad and erratic and scared and stressed and making all these bad decisions to finishing on such a strong note that he would change the course of history? How did he go from zero to hero within just a few chapters worth of reading? Let me give you my best guess. Look at John 21. This is after Jesus has risen from the grave. It says, later, Jesus appeared again to the disciples beside the Sea of Galilee. And this is how it happened. Several of the disciples were there: Simon Peter, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples. And Simon Peter said, I'm going fishing. And so the other disciples, they were like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna come too. And so they all went out in the boat, but they didn't catch anything all night long. Now, historically, if you've been in church long enough, you already know preachers drill Peter for this so hard. We use this verse all the time to talk about how Peter had backslidden, and 1 or 2 tough situations called him to forsake everything that he believed in, forsake his calling, and revert back to living his old ways, since, Peter was a fisherman before he started following Jesus. And I think that that's true. I think it's partially true, because did he do that? Sure he did. He made some mistakes, but let's look on the brighter side of things. At least Peter's doing better than Judas. Think about it. Peter wasn't the only one who was hit hard by all the stressful situations surrounding Jesus' death. No, there's a guy named Judas. Do you remember Judas? He's the one who betrayed Jesus. Yeah, he was struggling. But what did he do? He quit. He committed suicide. He threw in the towel completely. And that could have been Peter's story, but it wasn't. No. Like any good Southern guy, times got tough, and Peter said, I'm going fishing. And we give him we harp on him for doing that. But for just a second, I want you to disregard that word fishing and pay close attention to his first 2 words there. He said, I'm going. Now, Peter wasn't perfect, but I think we can all appreciate the fact that during the hardest, most difficult season of his life, Peter kept going. And I came to encourage someone else in here today. Keep going. Keep going. I know you're tired. I know you're struggling. I know you're hurting. I know you're worried. Keep going. I know you're ready to quit on that marriage, but don't quit just yet. Keep going. I know you've been praying for that kid and you haven't seen any results. Keep praying. Keep going. I know you're 45 days behind on your Bible plan. I'm 22 days behind on my Bible plan. Keep going. Keep pressing forward. Keep moving. Finish strong. I may not be perfect, but you want to know what I am? I'm going. I'm still going, baby. Anybody in here that says, Alex, I'm struggling, but I'm still going? You got to look at the person you're sitting next to and just tell them, say, keep going. Now tell them grab some faith and say, I'm still going. I'm still going. I'm still going. I failed the test, but I'm still going. That relationship didn't work out, but I'm still going. Work sucks. I said sucks. Our normals are used to it. But I'm still going. I say things I shouldn't say from the platform, but I'm still going. You got to keep going. Don't give up. It'll be worth it in the end. Let me prove it to you. Galatians 6:9. Let's not get tired of doing what is good, because at just the right time, we'll reap a harvest of blessing as long as we don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep moving forward. Normally, I prefer to preach from the Bible. I'm setting myself up right here because you're like, what in the world is he about to say when he says this? But I must say that Prophetess Dory hit the nail on the head in that movie, Finding Nemo. Y'all remember the movie, Finding Nemo? What's happening? They're looking for Nemo, Dory, and Marlin. They're swimming. They're seeing no breakthrough. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. And what is that she starts singing? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. I knew you guys would know that. Give it up for yourselves for no. Some of y'all are like, did we just sing that? Yeah, we did, because it's a powerful concept. Sometimes that's your only option. When you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you don't stop. You keep going. You keep swimming. You keep moving forward. Even when it's tough. Even when you don't want to. You just keep going. I was talking to a couple the other day, a precious family that goes to our church who recently lost a child. And I was just kind of asking them. I said, how are you managing this? Like, how are you making it right now? I loved it. Oh, I loved what they said. They said, well, we just keep waking up, getting up, and showing up every day. And even when we don't want to. And I was like, oh, that's so good. You got to wake up, you got to get up, you got to show up. When it's tough, you wake up, you get up, and you show up. So that when it's easy, you get to wake up, get up, and show up. You got to keep going. One moment at a time, one day at a time, one work hour at a time. I know those coworkers are getting under your skin. Keep going. Keep going. Keep one holiday at a time. Keep going. And when the time comes where you feel like you can't keep going and you feel like there's no way I can finish strong, then let me encourage you. Dig deep and remember who you really are. Remember who you really are. And I say that on purpose because I'm not asking you to remember who it is that your friends think that you are, or who your kids think that you are, or who your family thinks that you are. And I'm not asking you to remember who your actions claim that you are. And I'm definitely not asking you to remember whoever the person is on social media that you look like or who you are there. I'm asking you, and I'm letting you know that if you want to finish strong this year, you're going to have to remember who you really are. You're going to have to remember who God says that you are. Peter, look real quick, Matthew 18, it says, or Matthew 16:13. It says, when Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say that the Son of Man is? Well, they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, others say Jeremiah, or one of the other prophets. Then he asked him, but who do you say that I am? Simon Peter answered, he said, you're the Messiah, you're the Son of the living God. And Jesus replied, you're blessed, Simon, son of John, because my Father in heaven has revealed this to you. You didn't learn this from any human. And then check out what Jesus says here. Now I say, he used to be Simon, but now I say, you are Peter, which means rock. And upon this rock, I'm going to build my church, and all the powers of hell won't even be able to conquer it. So long before Jesus got crucified and everything goes hectic, he made sure that Peter knew who he really was. He said, listen, boy, you're not just Simon. You're not just an ordinary fisherman living this ordinary existence like everybody else. Hear me. You are Peter. You're the rock that I'm going to build the church on, and hell itself isn't going to be able to slow you down. And I'm sure on the good days when things were going smooth, Peter was like, yeah, that's right. He got up out of bed in the morning, on the good day when it was sunny outside. He took his shirt off and he walked up to the mirror. You're the rock. He's looking at himself, that's right. You ain't Simon. You're the rock. I'll give you 2 reasons Jesus called you the rock. 1 and 2, right there. He's like, take that, Dwayne Johnson. I'm the rock, Peter, think of this boy, must have been so cocky. You see it play out in the rest of the scriptures. He's asking Jesus, hey, am I going to be sitting at your right hand? He's asking these cocky questions. I mean, think about it. Jesus is retired for the night, gone into the wilderness to pray like he always does, leaves the disciples to, do their own thing, play board games, whatever they did whenever he left. And they're all sitting around the bonfire. Think about Peter just scooting up next to one of the guys. He's like, hey, man, I don't know if you heard, but Jesus gave me a new name yesterday. Did you hear? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he gave me a new name. It means the rock, because I'm the rock he's going to build his church on. So what new name did he give you? Oh, he didn't give you a new name. Peter was so all about himself in this moment. He was so confident. I know he knew who he was until you just sprinkle a little stress and a few bad decisions, a little bit of, political division, a few unanswered prayers, a little chaos in there, some family drama. And now all of a sudden, the rock that Jesus was going to build his church on is denying even knowing Jesus and living in a way that he would never want Jesus to see him live. And we can just drop all the religiosity because that's your story too. That's my story too. For most of us, that's our story like this week. Recently, saying things that you shouldn't be saying, doing things you never thought you would do, thinking thoughts that if somebody else could read your mind, it would make you so embarrassed. Living in fear, living lazy, living impure, living angry, living jealous, living conceited, living greedy. And it's not because you don't love Jesus. For most of us, it's just because we simply forgot who we were. But hear me, Peter. You're not Simon. You're not ordinary. You're not like everybody else. You're not average. There's so much more to you than that. You gotta remember who you are. If you wanna finish strong, you gotta know who you really are. And in case you've forgotten who you really are, let me remind you what the word says about you, who the word says you are. Romans 8, it says you're more than a conqueror, meaning you can handle any battle that comes your way. You're more than a conqueror. Galatians 4, you're a child of God, meaning you have access to all the resources that heaven has to offer you. 2 Corinthians, you're a brand new creation, meaning that old person that comes and tries to creep up and get you to act in certain ways and do certain things and think in certain ways that you shouldn't be doing. That old person doesn't have any call on your life anymore. Doesn't have any authority to make you do anything. You're a brand new creation. You're not him anymore. You're not her anymore. Fast forward down to Ephesians 2. It says you're seated with Jesus in heavenly places. You're not just on earth. No, you are literally seated in heavenly places. You get to see things from a new perspective, a higher perspective, a heavenly perspective. Are you guys hearing me? You are not who you see when you look in the mirror. When God looks at you, he doesn't see what you see. God doesn't judge you by all of your mistakes and your shortcomings and your failures and your mess ups and all the words that you said that you shouldn't have said. No, God knows who you really are. God knows who he's really called you to be, who he's really turned you into. And if you want to finish strong, then you have to know who you really are as well. You aren't Simon. You're the rock. You're the rock, Peter, that Jesus is going to build his church on, that gates of hell aren't going to be able to come against. You're righteous, you're clean, you're pure, you're forgiven. You have everything it takes to live a life of godliness. Jesus has given you everything that you need. You have the very power of God living on the inside of you, Peter. That's who you really are. And if you want to finish strong, you gotta remember that. It's gotta be right there. You gotta know every single day. But at the same time, I'm not gonna stand up here and lie to you and say that simply knowing all of that has been enough to get me through every single time, because the truth is it hasn't. I can quote scriptures and verses, and I know all the right words and the right phrases, but no matter how many scriptures that you learn and memorize and know, and no matter how many times you can reassure yourself and say, no, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. The truth is, sometimes you don't feel strong enough. The truth is, sometimes you're still gonna feel weak. You're still gonna feel like you don't have what it takes. You're still gonna feel unqualified. And so what I wanna do is, I wanna give you just a word of advice that I don't think a whole lot of pastors would normally give, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. When seasons or situations appear that leave you feeling overwhelmed and stressed to the max and unsure of yourself and bogged down and unable and unqualified, then instead of trying to have it all together, I want to encourage you that sometimes if you want to finish strong, it's going to require you living weak. If you want to finish strong, then you got to start by learning how to live weak. And I'll explain this to you in just a second. I know you're all confused because it's like, we all remember the Live Strong bands, the little yellow armbands we always used to wear. So we get Live Strong, but Alex, what do you even mean when you say live weak? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Matthew 26, starting in verse 31, it says, on the way, Jesus told them, tonight, all of you will desert me. For the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I've been raised from the dead, I'll go ahead of you to Galilee and I'll meet you there. Peter declared, and then Peter declared, I love this. Even if everyone else deserts you, I will never desert you. And so Jesus replies, I tell you the truth, Peter. This very night before the rooster crows, you'll deny 3 times that you even know me. No, Peter insisted. I love it. Jesus, you've been right every single time thus far. I've literally never seen you make a single mistake, but you're gonna tell me this and I'm just gonna disagree with you. No, you're wrong this time, Peter insists. Even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. And all the other disciples vowed to do the same thing. So hours before the crucifixion, we see Peter making all these empty vows. I swear, I'll never deny you. I'll go with you to the death, Jesus. You can count on me. Remember, I'm Peter. I'm the rock that you're gonna build your church upon. I can handle this. And Peter models this confidence. But the only problem with Peter's confidence is that his confidence was in him. His confidence was in his power and his ability and his strength. Peter assumed that Peter was strong enough to handle whatever was thrown his direction. And you already know he wasn't. You know the story. He denies Jesus exactly like Jesus said he was going to deny Jesus. And Peter fails to finish strong, I believe, because he refused to live weak. If there's anything that I've had to learn, if there's anything I've learned over the past year, over the past 2 years, it's the importance of understanding how truly weak I am. I know you would think that like someone I started preaching when I was 25. I know you would think that the most important thing I could do is develop some confidence and know my strengths, right? That's what someone's gonna tell you. Figure out your strengths. The most important thing I've done is figure out how truly weak I am. It seems like 3 days out of every week that I've been here, it's been like, can I even do this? I don't even know if I have what it takes to do anything that we're doing right now. I'm too young, too inexperienced. I don't know enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not sure if I know the Bible well enough. I don't think I pray enough. I'm not reaching enough people. And all these thoughts will start clouding up my mind, and they'll all just kind of like gather together, and it'll get me to the spot on some days where I'm convinced that one wrong move on my end and everything is just gonna crumble apart. And everything that we've been doing, everything we've all been pushing together to reach this community, it's all just gonna be ruined. And then God will always bring me back to the realization. He'll say, you know what, Alex, the truth is, you're not enough. The truth is, you are young and you are inexperienced and you're not smart enough to do any of this, and you're not strong enough. Because the truth is, it's never been about my strength anyways. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, I get so concerned. I don't know if I can do this. And the truth is I can't do this, but that's okay. Because since when has it ever been about what I can do? Since when has it ever been about my power? Since when has it ever been about my strength? I spoke at Bethel's chapel service a few weeks ago. And I told him this same thing. It's like the older we get, we just so quickly forget all these simple truths that we learned as kids. You guys remember the song, Jesus Loves Me? Just a show of hands. Who doesn't know that song? Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. It's not a new concept. It has never been about your strength. It has only ever and will always be about his strength in the middle of your weakness. 2 Corinthians 12, this is Paul. It says 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. How many of you beg God to take something away 3 times, 5 times, 15 times? God, take it away. 3 times I begged the Lord to take it away. And each time he said, my grace is all you need because my power works best in your strength. My power works best in weakness. Oh, so now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and the insults and hardships and persecutions and troubles that I suffer, because only when I'm weak am I then strong. It is not your strength that's gonna help you finish strong this year. It's God's strength hidden within you that's gonna help you finish strong this year. And the coolest part about God's strength is that it doesn't show itself in your best moments. God's strength shows up in your weakest moments. That's why Peter was so much more effective after Jesus was crucified, after he'd made all those mistakes, because he finally realized, I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. I really can't handle all of this. For the first time in his life, he realized, man, I really am weak. And it's so funny because the moment Peter learns how to finally live weak, Jesus comes through and supplies him with all the power he needs to finish strong. If you guys would, jump up on your feet with me real quick. Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge. God is our strength. And he's an ever-present help in time of need. If you're in here this morning and you're hurting and you're struggling and you're anxious and you're overwhelmed and you're whatever, but you're ready to finish strong, then I want to give you an opportunity to do just that. I want to give you the opportunity right now to stop trying to be strong, to stop trying to handle everything on your own, and to instead, for the first time for many of you, simply allow God to be your refuge and your strength. This verse, it says, He's an ever-present help in time of need, meaning when you need Him, He's there. He's available. And I love a good sermon and taking notes, but many of you don't need another sermon. Many of you need a raw encounter with the presence of God Himself. I still believe that one encounter with the presence of God can change everything for you. I still believe it. That's my story. And I believe it for some of you today. That's going to be your story, because He's here, He's close, He's available, He's not far away. So with eyes closed and hands up all across this room, as we get ready to go into a worship experience here for just a few more minutes, I don't want you to watch the team. I don't want you to just sing. I want you to focus on Jesus Himself. I want you to give Him control. I want you to let Him come in and be your refuge and your strength. I want you to give Him everything that you're dealing with right now. Say, God, I choose to live weak today. I live weak so I can finish strong. Jesus, that's our call. That's our hope today. Come and be our refuge. Come be our strength today. We need you. We want to finish strong, and we can't do this without you. I can't do this without you. We don't want to do this without you. So Holy Spirit, we pray that your presence would be here, that your presence would come, calm the storm in our minds, calm the storm in our families. God, we trust you. Come on, let's lift our voices and begin giving Him praise and singing and just trusting God for a moment. Come on.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into the message today. Hope it was meaningful to you. And if it was, be sure to subscribe to Overflow Church's YouTube page. And if you want to give into the move of God happening here at Overflow, you can do that through our website or through our app. Hope you guys have an incredible day.